Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Art of MMA. I'm Mike Ginn. That's the mechanic, Brandon Contino. Back for our episode 85. We're talking UFC Vegas 59, a.k.a. the TUF finale. We're going to also break down PFL 7, the first round of the playoffs. We'll talk later about Bellator 84, make our pick 284, make our picks for that, as well as PFL 8 and UFC San Diego. And then in the middle, we're going to cram in Battleground, talking about when should you stop? Do you stop when the ref stops the fight? Do you stop when you feel your opponent's hurt or taps? I'll get the expert's opinion. Obviously, I got a professional fighter here with me, so we'll talk to Brandon about that. Before we do all that, of course, let's pay the bills. Head over to FightersFirst.shop. Get all the latest and greatest merchandise. Let our apparel be a part of your story. Of course, Brandon's rocking the Art of MMA tee. I got actually his tee on. I don't know. Did we switch closets? I don't know what happened, but
that's because you are acknowledging your lead dog. That's why.
Bro, I had a better week than you. I'm catching up.
I'm still the lead dog, though. I'm still the lead dog.
You sound like me now. You really do. You got the right shirt on. You sound like me. Like I'm still clinging by a couple of percentage points. I'm still the lead dog. You sound just like me. You're like Tony Khan sounding like Eric Bischoff. Eric learned his lesson. I learned my lesson. It's called humility, and I'm on my way. A couple things real quick before we get into today's show. First off, wouldn't be an MMA show without paying tribute. The great Gene LeBell passed away yesterday, kind of sent shockwaves through the world, thought he'd live forever. I really did. The guy was like a machine. His best quote ever is probably right up Brandon's alley. He was undefeated but penniless in real fights, but made millions in fake fights, and he never won a single one. Gene LeBell obviously trained Ronda Rousey, had a lot to do with a lot of early day UFC stuff. A lot of MMA fighters have seek guidance to him. A lot of professional wrestlers have seek guidance from him. Gene LeBell is just a legend in every sense of the word. Hollywood stuntman, legit judo badass. So shout out to his family, thoughts and prayers. And thank you, Gene, for everything you gave to this sport, everything you gave to this world. Any thoughts real quick, Brandon, on Gene LeBell?
I mean, just co-sign on everything that you said. Really, like Gene LeBell was kind of one of those early people that kind of really was into MMA. The mixed martial arts. Like when back in his day, before mixed martial arts was a thing, he was kind of doing that. Like I said, with his pro wrestling, with his pro wrestling and everything else like that, where he was kind of blending things.
Yeah, just a legendary figure in the world of combat sports and entertainment. So he crossed that line. He did it better than anybody. Any great movie, especially in the 70s, early 80s, you saw him in the background somewhere. Did stunt work with everywhere. And then, of course, he punked out Steven Seagal. So there you go. Also, I want to draw people's attention. I don't know if a lot of people know this is coming up. I just saw it today. One's making their debut on Amazon Prime on August 26th. People need to pay attention to that card, Brandon. You got the rematch against Adriana Morales and Demetrius Johnson. You got Rodtang on that. That's an exciting card. You looking forward to that one?
I would if I had Amazon Prime, but I don't, so I won't be watching it.
You don't have the internet?
I do, but that's on Amazon Prime.
Let's not lie to people. We know we'll watch it somehow, some way. We know we'll watch it. I got Amazon Prime. I'll watch it legally this time. But kind of reminds me of like when they did their debut on TNT, they kind of like packed it with like people Americans know and stuff like that with DJ at top. So another similar thing. Let's see if DJ can get his belt back. Man, Morales has been rolling, especially through DJ, and he destroyed his next opponent after that. So the kid is legit. So it's going to be a hell of a fight. And I always love watching Rodtang fight. I don't care if it's a Muay Thai, MMA. I don't care. I love watching some Rodtang. So pay attention to that. Big shout out to one in their debut on Prime, August 26th. Well, we got a lot to get to, Brandon. So we'll go ahead and start off with our reactions. First up, PFL 7, the start of the playoffs for the 2022 season, headlined by a rematch, an entire month in the making with Stephen Ray and Anthony Pettis. We also saw a couple other great fights on there as well. Akhmedov, Silveria was a battle. Your fight pick, Abin Mercier, got the job done against Alex Martinez. We're going to go ahead and start with the main event, a fight where Anthony Pettis broke not one, but fractured two hands. What do you think of that main event where Stephen Ray got the win once again over Anthony Pettis?
Yeah, no, man, it was a good fight. Like I said, Anthony Pettis came out strong. He was trying to throw those head kicks. Like, he really was tagging Stevie Ray up, but, Stevie Ray kind of, ate those shots, and then he kept on still going forward. Got his takedowns. It kind of really was a tell of two fights. Like, hey, if the fight was standing up, it was Anthony Pettis, but if that fight got to the ground, it was Stevie Ray. Like Anthony Pettis was kind of working on his back, but he really wasn't doing that much striking. So that's why I think Stevie Ray didn't mind really staying there.
Yeah, I mean, I thought Stephen Ray was going to finish him when they were on the ground. He got him once again in that choke, like that rear naked. Like, thankfully, the round ended, but like it was a situation like where Anthony Pettis, who is, I believe, a black belt in jiu-jitsu as well, knows his way on the ground. I still remember like hitting the double armbar on Benson Henderson that time. Like Anthony Pettis knows his way on the ground, but Stephen Ray is just a level above him when it comes to that, and you can see it. And it's kind of like Clay Collard's coming out party last year against Pettis. It kind of elevated him, and I think this is elevating Stephen Ray. I know I said last week, I know Anthony Pettis is a step slower. He's still dangerous, but I don't think he's the same guy that we remember as Showtime. But that's not a knock on Stephen Ray. Stephen Ray is now 25-10, got a better record than Anthony Pettis. Obviously not the same pedigree with the championships and stuff. But Stephen Ray is dangerous, and he could very well win the playoffs this year. He's going on to the finals now. Very dangerous. Over in the co-main event on light heavyweight division, we had Amari Akhmedov versus Joshua Silveria. You and I had different opinions. I thought Silveria would get this one. You picked Akhmedov. You were right. It's one of the few times I can say you're right because I suck at any card that's not named UFC. But I did have a better record this week overall, not this card, overall. Well, what did you think of that fight, the co-main event?
Yeah, no, man, it was a good fight. It's like how we talked about, with the week before with the lefty righty fight. So with this one, right? Was it
Akhmedov?
Yeah, Akhmedov. Like I say, he was going to his left. He was circling to his left, using his jab. Like Noah was saying, we talked about having that outside foot position, which is what he had. And that's really what he was using. He was using his jab, he was using his movement, and then boom. Then once in a while, he would throw that right hand, and he would connect, and that's really how the fight was, in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't think there was much to it. I mean, Silveria put up a fight, but I think Akhmedov was just levels above him. I think Akhmedov was first to everything. Unanimous decision win. Like I said, it wasn't even close. I think one person gave Silveria a round, but it was pretty much 30-27 with the other judges. Also on that card, we saw Alban Mercier, your fight, get the win over Alex Martinez, decision win. Rob Wilkinson with the big knockout over Dylan Monte. Marcelo Nunez in the heavyweight division. They had a lot of Challenger Series stuff mixed in with the first round of the playoffs here. He got the win over Dylan Potter. Arm triangle choke. He had Alexei Pergande with the split decision win over Elvis LeBron Quiles. Did you agree with that decision?
I had missed that fight because I was out then when I got home.
That was a very close fight. I don't know. Like I was looking at it and I was just like, I don't know. Like it was just a weird decision. Because it was literally 29-28, 28-29, 29-28. It was like razor close. So you can't really go wrong. Elvin Espinoza got the win over Corey Jackson, decision. Brian Zerker got the win over Ricardo Jimenez with decision. Itzo Babalatse got the TKO over Mohammad Zibi Fazi. And then my pick in the opening fight might have been the fight of the night. A split decision win for Martin Hamlet. A bloody battle point where I think there's like a slow-mo of one of the fighters, like blood just coming, like pouring out of their nose. But I was wrong. I'd always pick Martin Hamlet, and he let me down. And now I pick against him, and he wins. I don't know what to do.
Yep.
Any highlights on that card that you stood out for you?
I mean, just the Canadian gangster, man, just doing his thing. Ever since leaving the UFC, like I said, man, he is a threat. And he is in the final now, so he has a chance to win $1 million, just like Stevie Ray. Like you talk about Clay Collard having a coming out party last year. Now this is Stevie Ray coming out party, for him.
Yeah, I mean, look, this card was not exciting on paper. We talked about that last week. We're like, all right, they're in MSG, like the not the Garden, but the
Hulu
next
Theater.
to it. Yeah, the Hulu Theater. Like, but they're in New York City. You're like, all right, cool. They really were saving a lot of the fireworks for the UK. The Wales card this weekend, London next weekend with Kayla. Like they were saving the fireworks for the UK. You could kind of see it. But we'll talk more about PFL later in the show. That was PFL 7. Let us know your comments. I want to know from you guys. Do you think Anthony Pettis is done? I personally don't think we see him next season. I think this is like he backed his way into the playoffs this year with a loss against Stephen Ray and got lucky that other people didn't get like knockouts or whatever and bounced past him. I just don't think he's the same guy. He's dangerous. He's good for an exhibition here and there. Maybe Bellator might be a better fit where he can get a couple just fights like a Benson Henderson or somebody. But I don't think he's going to win a playoff. Like I don't think he's going to win a series or a season in PFL. It's just not a format meant for him. I don't know. Do you disagree, Brandon?
I mean, like I said, it is a rough, I guess schedule. The way I say, like he said when this season started, he said like last season he didn't know what to expect. He wasn't ready for it, but this year he was a little bit better. Like you can tell his body, he was more in shape, ready to go. But like I said, I know he did have some injuries going into this fight. So, like I said, it can be rough. It can be rough.
I mean, it's a 4-fight schedule, right? Basically, if you win, you got to win 4 fights. And he's 35 years old at this point. And he's a lighter fighter that's used to moving fast, and he's not as fast as he used to be. I just don't think 4 fights in a year is realistic for him to win. He can win a couple, but to win all 4, I just don't think it's happening. He looked great his first fight of the season, and then you could just see and a lot of that was Stephen Ray. Let's give him credit, right? Stephen Ray looked fantastic. So that is that. Moving on, UFC Vegas 59 on ESPN 40, the TUF finale. I don't care what you want to call it. I'll just call it the Jamahal Hill show because Jamahal Hill came out, conquered Thiago Santos in a battle. It was really back and forth early. Eventually, it just became the Jamahal Hill show. We talked about Jeff Neal, got the job against Luque, got done Luque. We saw 2 tough winners, Mohammad Usman and Juliana Miller, and just a really, really good card that saw, finishes in every single fight. Is that the first time that's ever happened?
Second time.
So they went 10 for 10, 10 finishes. Good luck to the people handing out the performance bonuses on that one. But we'll go ahead and start right off the bat with the fight of the night, main event, Jamahal Hill, Thiago Santos. Jamahal Hill gets the win, gets the stoppage in the 4th round. We wonder what he would look like going later than he's ever gone in his career. He looked pretty damn good. What'd you think of the fight, Brandon?
Yeah, man, it was a good fight. I said Jamahal Hill,
one of the fights you went 0-4?
Yeah, I did. But like I said, man, Thiago Silva was still sorry. Exactly. I was gonna say Thiago Santos was still
you need some Dr. Pepper?
Santos was still in it. It was a back and forth fight. But like I say, Jamahal Hill, again, talking about righty lefty fights, right? Saying Jamahal Hill came out as a lefty, his right hand, for that right hook, he was just catching Santos over and over with it. Like I said, man, he has good boxing, for the light heavyweight division. And it was on display, but you guys see Santos still had the power. He was still throwing some shots. But the thing is, like, to me, I think with Santos, just like he doesn't have the volume. He's only throwing like 1 shot, 2 shots here and there. He's not really putting the volume up to really kind of put somebody on their toes.
Yeah, look, the first round, I think Thiago even won, right? Like Thiago was strong the first round. He was flashing head kicks. He looked good the first round. I thought he would be the one to be carrying the fight later in the fight, but he was the one that seemed to tire down. But I think a lot of that is he kept going for takedowns, which he can do, but it's not his specialty. And that wears you down, especially when Jamahal Hill's fighting off these takedowns, right? Like you get tired trying to do takedowns that aren't successful. And then when he gets on top of you, he's not really going for the finish. Like, I don't know, it's just kind of weird. Excuse me. I think this is a tell of 2 signs for this fight. One, the age gap, right? Like Jamahal Hill's younger, faster, stronger. Thiago's still dangerous. We saw that in the first round. He almost caught Jamahal Hill a couple times. As the fight went on, it just became, especially the 3rd, 4th round, it became the Jamahal Hill show. I don't know how a Jamahal Hill would face off against somebody with some superior grappling. I think that's the biggest question. I think Jamahal Hill actually would be a phenomenal boxer. I think I've said this a couple times. His hands are that good. But is his takedown defense that good against, if he's getting taken down by a Thiago Santos, if he's like fighting like takedowns against Thiago, what's he going to do against a Glover Teixeira, a Jan Blachowicz, right? That will take you down and smother you. He is a great matchup for Yuri because Yuri going to stand and fight with you too. But I don't know what the future is for Jamahal. He's kind of stuck in that no man's land. He's now probably, I believe he's 6 now because Thiago was 6, right? So shouldn't he be 6?
Yeah.
Pull up UFC rankings. I know I'm usually prepared. But yeah, like I just don't see what's next for him. He's 6 now. Anthony Smith is still at 5 after the injury, but I don't know. Do we see maybe Jamahal Hill and Rockets or something? What do you think is next? Enclave?
Nah, I would probably think either you could see a Jamahal Hill and a Paul Craig rematch, or you could see maybe I would probably think maybe a Jamahal Hill versus a Dominick Reyes. You know, we haven't seen Reyes in a minute, so that could be a good fight.
6'7", that'd be perfect.
Yeah, or maybe even a Uzdemir fight as well. You know, Jamahal Hill versus Uzdemir. Like those
just
are
beat
really,
Paul Craig.
Yeah. Those are really my 3. Those really my 3 options for him, I would say.
Well, I think it's very muddy at the top, right? We don't know if Yuri's going to defend against Jan, rematch against Glover. If Enclave's going to get that shot. Jamahal Hill could jump the line because they seem to have some beef, like talking shit back and forth. I think Jamahal Hill probably is going to get matched up against an Anthony Smith, which would be interesting depending on Anthony's injury, how long Anthony's out. Because he either broke his ankle or fractured his ankle. And then Enclave's sitting there waiting too. So if both those guys want to get on, I think it's great. I think what you said, Dominick Reyes, is a very interesting fight. I think that's the fight I would love to see. That would be really cool. Over the co-main event, I wish I had stuck to my guns, Brandon, because I got this one wrong, but I got it right. I said if Jeff Neal has – I said I wasn't sure about the pick right off the bat because I was like, Jeff Neal has all the tools to do it. I just went with Luque's resume and his experience against tougher opponents. I did say Jeff Neal should have mixed in takedowns, which he didn't at all. It was straight up hands of stone Jeff Neal, combo after combo after combo. And then Luque would fire back in that second round. And then in the third round, all of a sudden, Jeff Neal's just landing uppercut after uppercut after uppercut. This fight was rock'em sock'em robots. And I'll be honest with you, it got to the point, even as a fight fan, I was getting kind of queasy seeing some of this abuse that Luque was taking. I think the fight probably could have got stopped a little bit earlier, but I understand with Luque's resume, you kind of give him the benefit of the doubt. But I think he took a lot of unnecessary punishment too at the end because he was clearly hurt and clearly out. But what do you think of the whole fight?
Yeah, no, man, Jeff Neal was really attacking Luque's body and head all on the same side. Like he was beating him up with that right hand, you know, which would be the left side of Luque's body. You know, so he was just going like saying that right hand hook, right hand uppercut, you know, straight punch with the right hand, and he was just tagging Luque. But like you said, Luque was coming back in the second, but then in the third round, you know, Luque got rocked, and it was lights out.
Yeah, the problem is also I don't know what's next for Jeff Neal. I just don't. Like I look at that crowded rankings in welterweight, and you got all these guys either waiting for another shot at Usman. And literally waiting. They're not going to fight unless they get that Usman fight. Or aging veterans that might not put up as much of a fight. Like, I think if he fights Jorge Masvidal, Jeff Neal's so fast, he might just put Masvidal out, even though we know Masvidal's a great striker. But he's getting old, you know. Jeff Neal's still young and fiery. Sean Brady's got his eyes set on a higher opponent. Stephen Thompson's willing to take somebody out. That might be a fun fight. He's willing to take on anybody, I meant to say. Bilal Muhammad's sitting there waiting for a top 5 guy. Is Gilbert Burns fight down to a number 8 Jeff Neal just to have a fun, exciting fight? He's still waiting for the Masvidal fight at 9. So I could see him ranking an opponent lower. But would he fight Jeff Neal, who doesn't bring the payday that a Jorge Masvidal fight does? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I know Jeff Neal did call out Gilbert Burns, but I don't know if that fight's going to happen. I'm pretty sure Masvidal does not want that smoke with Neal. You know, like say, you know, he's trying to get a counter fight or he's trying to do something else. But I mean, he does have a loss to Wonder Boy, so maybe he would want to get that back.
Revenge.
Michael Chiesa is still around. He could use somebody, or better yet, I think he's ranked number 10, but Rachmanov is number 10. So I mean, Jeff Neal, Rachmanov, maybe that could happen.
Rachmanov is technically 11. It's weird. They have Luque and Masvidal both ranked 9.
Right.
I guess they couldn't make up their mind this week. I don't know. So technically Rachmanov's still 11, but that'd be a good come-up fight. And also, we talked about Rachmanov's abilities. That would be a great test for Jeff Neal because Jeff Neal would have to do everything against him, not just strike. So, because we know Rachmanov likes to get those clinches and grabs. But I think Jeff Neal's looking for a higher opponent at this point. He's been in the UFC so long, he's ready to jump up and take that shot. And when you've done that for so long, Bilal Muhammad, people like that, they don't want to fight down anymore because they've been treading water for so long. They want that big spotlight. So, tough situation. Also on that card, we saw 2 tough finales. First off, in the heavyweight division, we saw Kamaru Usman's brother, Mohammad Usman, against Zach Puaga. We both picked Zach in that fight. And honestly, Zach was doing better on his feet for a long time. But I said it last week, the only shot Usman had was one swing. And that's exactly what happened in the second round. Zach got caught, and it was night. Now, I do want to say, look, we all know the story of Mohammad Usman and his son, Nash. Like, that's a heartbreaking story of what happened with his son drowning. So it's always inspiring to see Usman win. We're not rooting against Usman. Like, we want to see this guy succeed and honor his son. Like, that's not a thing. But I don't think it's a mystery to say he's probably not a top contender in the heavyweight division. There's a lot of guys that can go toe-to-toe with his power and put him to sleep, like we saw in PFL. But he did look great this season in TUF. I saw a bunch of highlights and other things, and he got the job done. What do you think?
Like you said, it was good. It was good of him to adjust during the fight. Like I said, Zach Puaga, every time he would come in, he would drop his right hand. And then Usman noticed that, him and his team, and then boom, when he came in that second round, he threw that left hook and dropped him. So I mean, kudos to him for being able to adapt like that.
Why didn't we see any grappling from Puaga?
Because he's a striker. That's why. He really is a striker. Like, that's how he gets down.
You know who he trains with. Like, we talked about him training with Blades. Like, you gotta have something rub off, right?
Yes, you can train with Blades, but again, he's a striker though. That's what he's good at. And plus, too, like I said, he's trained with Usman. They were on the same team. So I mean, he knows how Usman is. So that's why he's like, yo, Usman, you're slow. I'm gonna, and he even said it. He even said that was his game plan. He was basically like, oh, I'm gonna light you up. I'm gonna tag you up, which is what he was doing in the first round. But hey, he was dropping his right hand. Usman noticed that, caught him.
I think it's one of those things. I think it's one of those things where both of them, like, Usman can say he's a better wrestler than his brother. I don't believe that. But at the same time, I've seen Usman trying to grapple and wrestle in the PFL, and it did not work out very well for him. Like, I think, like, I don't know why he didn't at least mix it up, at least, like, pretend like he was going to take him down at some point. But he was quicker to the punch. He just got caught. I wouldn't be surprised if we see Zach down the road in a fight or two in the heavyweight division. Though even though they said, like, Zach Puaga is actually probably more of a light heavyweight anyway.
Yeah, he's a light heavyweight. So
he might get a chance at light heavyweight, making it to the finals of TUF. He might get a shot anyway. Maybe a Dana White Contender Series fight or something. Over in the other TUF finale in the flyweight division, Juliana Miller got the job done against Rogan Walker. Look, Rogan Walker came straight forward, brought the fight, but Juliana Miller got, like, everybody questioned whether Juliana Miller could out-grapple Rogan. Guess what? She did. She got her on the ground almost every time, laid on her, smothered her, fired off ground and pound. I told this story on Crossing Borders. I talked to Alex Soto. Check out yesterday's episode. We talk all about Rogan Walker in the beginning. Why? Because she's a member of Team Hurricane Awesome, trained by Manolo Hernandez, part of Alex Soto's team that he's done a lot with over the years. Of course, he's now since retired, but still involved. Tells a story about how Juliana Miller used to get ragdolled by Liz Carmouche in practice. used to get ragdolled by Pearl Gonzalez and all these people that came through the gym in San Diego. But she never quit. She never backed down. Alex said she's been through tougher stuff in life. He didn't, elaborate, but, she's been through a lot of challenges in life that nothing in that cage or nothing people talking shit to could hurt her because she's already been through the worst. So she's only 26 years old, Brandon. She's got a bright future. If she can, and even Alex agreed to this, if she can tone up that striking, like, because she comes out there with her hands, like, all out, right? Like, if she can, like, get that MMA level of striking, not even like boxer level, MMA level of striking, she could be a very dangerous person with that grappling that she has in the flyweight division. What did you think of this fight?
No, yeah, like I said, Juliana Miller came out, just did her thing, man. Like I said, she, like, we knew that she was a tough girl because, like I said, you can see from the show, she comes straight forward. She will take a shot to give a shot, and that's really kind of how she is, and that's how she fights.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, that's why I picked her last week. I just thought she has that. She's not going to quit. Not going to quit. And she did. She came through. Congratulations. Hopefully Alex will get me that interview sometime in the near future before she blows up, becomes a big star. But congrats to Juliana Miller and Mohammad Usman. They are now the winners of the Ultimate Fighter and have their contracts as well. Also on that card, Sergey Spivak with the knockout over Augusto Sagai. Terrence McKinney looked great against Eric Gonzalez with the rear naked choke. Alexinchuk put Sam Alvey away. Hopefully this is the last we see of Sam Alvey in the UFC. I love the guy, but you can only lose so many fights in a row before your chances run out. Brian Battle with the big performance bonus knockout over Takashi Sato. Corey McKenna with the win over Miranda Granger with the shoulder choke. Like, it was kind of like almost like a Bravo choke almost. Like,
it was a Von Flute choke she got.
Von Flute, sorry, yeah. So impressive. And then something that's kind of going to lead to our battleground. We'll talk in a second. Mirna Bueno Silva with the submission over Stephanie Edgar. Out of the rest of those fights, any highlights for you?
I mean, just shout outs to what Brian Battle did, dropping down the weight class and then saying he got the job done with, with that nice head kicking and follow up. And then, Terrence McKinney, just bouncing back, from his loss to Drew Dober, and then he came back and he got a rear naked choke.
Shout out to Brian Battle, got a performance bonus for his knockout. Juliana Miller and Usman got the other performance bonuses, and fight of the night was Jamahal Hill and Thiago Santos. A little sad that Jeff Neal didn't get a bonus for what he did. He probably should have got one, but could only give out so many. Plus, they were giving out the contracts the same night. So, a lot to talk about. Exciting card from UFC Vegas 59. We're going to turn our attention real quick to Battleground before we make our previews and picks. Brandon, speaking of Mirna Bueno Silva, right? And I also think of Derek Lewis in a strange way. I'll bring it around for you. When do you stop fighting? Do you stop when the ref says that's it? Or do you stop if you feel the tap, if you know your opponent is clearly hurt and knocked out? Do you show sportsmanship and stop? Or do you go until, I'm going to let you start. Do you go until the ref says that's it?
And he's supposed to go until the ref says that's it. That's how it is in the game. And that's why this is called the hurt business. Right? The ref's job is to protect the fighter. It's not your job to protect the fighter. Your job is to hurt the fighter. So you're supposed to go, until the ref pulls you off. But again, I didn't expect you to say that correctly. But then again, hey man, we all are human beings. We do have compassion. You don't really want to break somebody's arm. So hey, when that person taps, like sometimes yes, you do let go. But then there's some people who will keep the choke and keep the submission and look for the ref to make sure that the ref sees it and then let go. But by that time, their arm might be snapped, or the other person could be sleeping if it's a choke.
Yeah, and then you also have to depend on the honesty of your opponent, right? Mm-hmm. So we remember the situation with Fabricio Verdun and Renan Ferreira, and whether it was just him touching him or him tapping, whatever the case is, Fabricio let go and Renan Ferreira opened up on him and knocked him out, right? Or got the TKO. Of course, after the fight, everybody's complaining he tapped. Ref never saw it. Ended up being overturned by the commission or PFL, whatever. You have a situation like Michelle Watterson, who the ref didn't actually see the tap in one of her last fights, and she admitted, yeah, I did tap. and she was sportsmanlike about it and admitted it, and so it was all good. This fight, Stephanie Eggers just kind of sat there like not saying nothing. She's not going to admit she tapped. She's not going to admit she didn't tap. The ref had to go to the instant replay, which I've never seen before. Derek Lewis has famously said, I'm going to hit you until the ref says don't hit you no more, because what happens if you get up and hit me back? Mm-hmm. Saw with Curtis Blades where he landed maybe an extra shot. You've seen a couple of Derek Lewis fights where he may have landed an extra shot because people go to sleep so quickly in the heavyweight division. How can a ref get there in time? For once, I won't bash Herb Dean. It's true. Like, how can you get there with the way the lights go out in the heavyweight division, right? But yeah, you have a great point. You're taught from day one, go to the ref, stops you. And sometimes you do break people's limbs. Sometimes you do break people's arms and legs and heel hooks. And, you know, you have other people like Usman, what's the Brazilian guy who holds the heel hooks too long? Barris, yeah. Like, he would famously hold it even after the ref was like, stop, and he still wouldn't let it go, which is the opposite of what we're talking about, right? But I think it's a great point for people to talk about and have communication. This is why I put this subject in here for a real quick version of Battleground this week, because if you're in a situation where you have an opponent hurt, like Brandon, you're in a kickboxing fight, you know your opponent can't keep coming back, and the ref hasn't stopped it yet. Do you keep hitting him?
Yeah.
You have to, right? Because what happens if all of a sudden he just throws a wild punch and knocks you out? Right? It can happen.
I'm trying to drop a guy.
Yeah. Anything can happen in the fight business. Everybody wants to go home to their families. Everybody wants everybody else to go home to their families and live to fight another day. But when you're from bell to bell, from time the ref starts it to the time the ref stops it, that's your job, to go beat up somebody. And it's not always pretty. We saw in the Martin Hamlet fight this week, like with Corey, like it's just a bloodfest. We've seen, you know, Mark Hunt famously will hit somebody and walk off because he knows the person's done. But what happens if they get up and he's not done? And that's the drawback. Like you said, you're human. You want to have everybody live to fight another day. But you also want to get a win. You also want to keep getting paid, and you don't want to get caught. I remember in boxing when Floyd Mayweather fought Victor Ortiz, and he didn't protect himself after, like, he was waiting for the ref to stop something or whatever, and then Floyd hit him with a two-piece, and it was over. Like, you got to protect yourself at all times. You have rules from start to the ref stops it. You protect yourself, and you keep fighting. And I think in this situation with Mirna letting go of the hold until the ref stopped it might have saved, you know, Stephanie from being hurt. But it could also cost her the fight if the ref didn't see it and Stephanie comes back to win the fight. So I agree with Brandon on a rare occasion. I think you go until the ref says go. Stop. Leave a comment. Let us know. What do you think? Sportsmanship or make sure you get the win? Can't have both, unfortunately. This is the hurt business, like Brandon says. All right, Brandon, you ready to make some picks, keep your lead dog status, and get up out of here for the afternoon?
Let's go for it.
All right, Brandon. Starting off with Bellator this week. Bellator 284 is in action. They're in Sioux Falls, South Dakota on the 12th. Headlined by Neiman Gracie versus Goiti Yamauchi. Going to be a fantastic fight. I really want to hear your opinion on who's going to win that one. Co-main event, we got Valentin Moldavsky versus Steve Mowry. Former champion McFarland versus Ellen. So a lot of good stuff on there. Austin Vanderford's on the card. Start off in the main event, Brandon. Go ahead and give your pick. Let me know who's going to win, Gracie or Yamauchi. Who you got?
I'm gonna go with Gracie, man. Like I said, he's kind of been like one of the guys that we've been talking about, where they've been kind of on a up tear. Then they kind of get to that certain level. Then they kind of always take an L, like you say. He had that Jason Jackson fight. The Logan Storley fight. But the thing is, though, it's not like he's getting whooped on in these fights. Like, they're just close fights. And I'm just thinking that he's taking what he's learned in those fights and he's going to apply it in this fight. Against Yamaguchi. Like saying Yamaguchi is one of the most exciting fighters on the Bellator roster. They say he used to fight at featherweight, now he's fighting at welterweight. They're both jiu-jitsu black belt. So if we see something on the ground, it should be fun. But I just think Gracie does have the size on him, but I think he'll be able to use his reach, keep it standing if he needs to. But then if it goes to the ground, I think he can control him that way as well.
So I agree with you, but I disagree with a couple things. One, this isn't a knock against Gracie. I think it's a plus sign for Yamauchi. Look, Yamauchi took Michael Chandler to the distance at lightweight. He lost a tough split decision to Dan Murray, but other than that, he's rolled through everybody over the last 3 years, including tough fighters like Awad, Daniel Weichel, Darren Cruikshank. Like he's gotten more and more exciting. He can grapple, he can strike. And Neiman Gracie, for his better part, we saw Jason Jackson kind of get the best of him on his feet. It was a tough decision win for Jason Jackson. One of the toughest fights Jason Jackson's actually had in recent memory. But I think Yamauchi's on his way up, and I think Neiman Gracie's just kind of like a gatekeeper kind of in that welterweight division. I think, like I said, it's not a knock on Gracie, but I think Yamauchi has more momentum, and I think he's probably going to win this fight because I think if it goes to decision, I think he'll do more exciting things in the eyes of the judges than Gracie will. So I'll take Yamauchi in that one. It's going to be a great fight, though. Over in the co-main event, we got Valentin Moldavsky versus Steve Mowry. Mowry undefeated, 10-0. Moldavsky, a tough veteran in the Bellator heavyweight division. Who you got?
Oh man, I'm looking for my what's name. I'm gonna go with Moldavsky to get the job done. Like I said, he's a veteran. He's been doing this for a while, and I'm just leaning towards him.
I'm going to take Steve Mowry to stay undefeated, and I'll tell you why. Because you don't see too many heavyweights with submission skills. And he has a number of Kimuras. If he gets your arm, he's going to try to break it. Kind of Brock Lesnar-like a little bit. He's a big kid. He's 6'8", long, rangy, a lot of knees, a lot of punches. And like I said, if you get in a tight situation, he's going to go for your arm. Moldavsky's going through a lot of tough opponents. He's not a pushover, but I think this might be one of Steve Mowry's coming out parties. He fought a very tough Sean Teed, who you know well from CFFC in your backyard, former champ there. He fought him in Bellator in one of the Cyborg Blenkow fights. Just beat Raheem Cleveland, who we know Cleveland has knockout power. So tough dude. I'm looking forward to this fight. I think Steve Mowry's going to take the win in this one. Also on the card, who is your fight pick to watch for the night?
I'm going with the rematch. Got to go with my girl Vitamin D. Deanna Bennett versus Justine Kish. Like I said, they just recently fought. Deanna Bennett got the job done. Justine Kish, that was her Bellator debut. Then Justine Kish went on to fight Elaine McFarland and beat her. And now for some reason they're running this fight back. So I'm still going to rock with Deanna Bennett. Like I said, I think she's the better overall MMA fighter. And I just love me some Vitamin D.
I think the reason they're running it back is because I think Vasquez is going to get the rematch for the title. And Kish has to wait. So stay active, I guess, maybe. But because McFarland's fighting Ellen, and I don't know. But I think it's a fun fight. Let's see if Kish's win was a fluke, because Deanna Bennett's coming up fast. Like, she's been running through everybody. So you're picking Bennett in that fight. My fight pick of the night is going to be Josh Hill and Marcos Breno. Marcos Breno's 14-2. Josh Hill 21-4. I'm picking Josh Hill. I think Josh Hill has a lot more experience, but I'm excited to see what this fight brings. I could be very wrong in this fight. I think it's just going to be one of those fight of the night contenders that everybody should watch. I think Josh Hill and Marcos Breno are both going to go for the finish. I think they're both going to be exciting fighters. This is not going to be a boring fight. And you always know the bantamweight division, those fighters are always fast, exciting, and fun to watch. So check out Josh Hill and Marcos Breno. I think Josh Hill is going to get that win. Before we move on, let you know we got Ali Malay McFarland, a former champion, going against Bruna Ellen. We got Syed Soma versus Gokhan Sarakam. I think that fight got pushed back a week, didn't it? Like, wasn't that supposed to be like last week or a week before?
Maybe.
We got Mr. Paige Van Zant, a.k.a. Austin Vanderford, trying to bounce back from his first loss. He's going against Aaron Jeffrey. We got Sullivan Colley versus Tyson Jeffries, an undefeated fighter, going against a veteran. Pat Downey and Jeff Solder both making their pro debuts. Isaiah Hokit versus Nick Perez. Perez also making his debut as well. Got some challenger people on this fight card. Bailey Schoenfelder versus Mark Courier. Mitchell McKee versus Tony Ortega, and rounding it out, and two guys making their debut at 175 catchweight, Brett Bai and Mattia Lloyd. Anything else stand out to you before we move on from that card?
No, man. There's everything that you said. It's good.
All righty. That is Bellator 284 coming to you on August 12th. Moving on, we have PFL 8 moving over to Wales, headlined by Rory MacDonald and Magomed Umalatov. Welterweight clash. We got some heavyweights going on as well. We're going to go ahead and start off in the main event, PFL 8, MacDonald, Umalatov. Who you got, buddy?
I'm just going to go with Rory MacDonald. Like I said, I think he's on the bounce back. Like I said, like him and Anthony Pettis, they were those two big free agent signings. And I think Rory MacDonald's trying to let people know why it is that he's known as, Big Red or the Red King.
Well, I'm either going to catch you, pass you, or fall very far behind with you this week because I'm way off as far as our picks go. I'm taking Umalatov. I mean, he's undefeated, 12-0. We saw what he did against Al Saud, the big knockout in July. Ran through Silva, Bowen. Like, he's been doing his thing now for a little while in the PFL, finally getting his chance. Came over from Eagle as well, so he's fought some tough level Russian opponents. A lot of stuff over in Russia. But look, this kid's 12-0. Trained under some of the best fighters over in Russia and Dagestan and stuff like that. Rory didn't look great against Sai, but Sai was also very long. It's something Magomed's 6'1" as well. Like, he's a big dude. So I actually think I'm going to take Umalatov in this one to stay undefeated and move on. Over in the co-main event, we got Ante Delia versus Renan Ferreira. If you allow me, I'd like to start on this one. I'm going to go ahead and just take Ante Delia because as much as I was on the Renan Ferreira train, I know he got hurt last fight, but he looked like he quit. He just straight up looked like he quit, and you saw him in the crowd later in the night, like rooting against other people so he can make the playoffs. I think Ante Delia, whether he's the best fighter or the worst fighter at any given time, has no quit. He never stops coming. You saw it in the final last year against Bruno. Like, this dude just keeps coming, even if he's out. Like, he won a couple rounds against Bruno last year. Like, he doesn't stop coming. So I'm taking Ante Delia in this one. Who you got?
Man, I'm like Ferreira's 6'8" over here.
Yeah, he's a big dude.
Yeah, well, his opponent 6'5". So, but I'm with you. I'm going with the Croatian. Like I said, he's 2-0 so far this season. So I'm going to rock with him. And like I said, he comes to fight, and I think he's going to bring the fight in this one.
Yeah, like I said, I think Ferreira quit the last fight. He backed his way in the playoffs because Bruno got that loss.
Yep.
All right. Who is your fight pick to watch on this card?
I'm going with a lightweight fight. Like I said, man, you know me, I got to sometimes pick. It's either lady fights or it's usually lightweight fights I'm always looking at. So I'm going to go with make sure I say it right.
Didn't you tell me the featherweights were the best fight division?
No, I think it was bantamweights were the best.
Oh, bantamweights. Okay.
Yeah. I'm going to go with the Barbaric versus Maxim fight, and I'm going to go with Barbaric to get the job done.
Hey, a couple 2-loss fighters. Anything can happen in that one. It's going to be interesting. That's a challenger, right? To see who qualifies for next year.
Could be. I just know it just says lightweight fight.
My fight pick to watch that card is going to be Nathan Kelly versus Ben Ellis. Both guys are up and coming featherweights. One's 5-2, one's 4-1. I'm actually taking Ben Ellis. He's the slight underdog in this fight. Ben has been quietly getting some wins. Like he's up to 4 wins now. His only loss was his like couple fights ago to Apkin over in Cage Warriors. I always think a lot of these Cage Warrior fighters come over more ready and more prepared for fights in the United States than a lot of other promotions. So I'm always really high on the Cage Warrior fighters coming over. And he has all the tools to do it. So I'm looking forward to an exciting fight. He might even win by stoppage. So that's my fight pick to watch on PFL 8. Also in action for the heavyweights in the tournament, you got Goltsov versus Scheffel. Welterweight division, you got Sadibou Sai, who did just beat Rory MacDonald, going against Carlos Leal, who took out Ray Cooper and just keeps on winning. So that's going to be a hell of a fight. I almost wish one of us had talked about that one because that might be a fight of the night also. But we do like to bring you fights that other people might not talk about. You know what I'm saying? Like give people a little bit more insight on other people in the card. But for what it's worth, I don't know who you're picking in that one, but I think actually Carlos Leal is kind of destined to get to that. He's just driven. Like he just seems to be on a mission, chip on his shoulder. We got I don't even know how to say it, but I apologize if I mispronounce this in the light heavyweight division. Chadwick versus Mycela. So I do apologize if I'm mispronouncing that. We got bantamweights Ben Casey versus Newsy. Francesco Nuzzi 9-1, trying to make an impact. We got Will Fleury versus Anthony Solomon. Solomon 7-0 undefeated. Josh O'Connor versus Emran Sakahadze. On the lightweights, we got Mick Stanton, the light heavyweight, against Marcin Wolchik. And then welterweight, Chris Maxson versus Christian Stegenberg. And heavyweights, Hatef and Seisman Bayer. Any final comments on PFL 8 before we move on?
No.
All right, PFL 8. Sorry, guys. We're trying to rush through some of these things because we got a lot of picks to make today. PFL 8, August 13th in Wales. Should be an exciting card. Rory MacDonald headline. Last thing to pick for the night, of course, is the UFC San Diego. Alex was a little bummed. He's excited, but also bummed because it's also Luke's fight league this week. And he's going to be down in Mexico when UFC is right in his backyard in San Diego. So he won't be able to catch the fights. But UFC San Diego, headlined by Marlon Vera versus Dominick Cruz. We also got Nate Landwehr versus David Onama. Yasmin Uruguay is making her UFC debut. If you follow Crossing Borders, I talk about her a lot, coming over from Combate Global. You got Devin Clark in action. You got Cynthia Cavilla and Nina Nunez finally getting it on a few weeks later. Angela Hill's in action. So a lot of fun fights. Brandon, let's go ahead and start off with the main event. Marlon Chito Vera, Dominick Cruz. This fight could go either way. Who you got?
I'm going with Dominick Cruz, man. I've always been a Dominick Cruz fan, ever since the WC days, and I'm still rocking with him. Saying hometown San Diego, man, he's gonna be fired up to get the hand raised for this one.
I mean, all right. I mean, they're both live in California, but like Chito Vera, I think is more on the way up than Dominick Cruz personally. Like Chito Vera's got the way winning Sean O'Malley. He's fought, Pedro Munoz, all these other people. I think he got a little bit big for his britches this week in media when he was talking about how like Peter Yan didn't want to fight him. But no offense, but Peter Yan's come off 2 straight title shot fights, one where he was a champion, one where he was challenging. I don't think he wants to fight a guy that far down unless it's going to make him a money payday like Sean O'Malley will. That's a payday. Chito Vera is a very good fighter. I'm a huge Chito Vera fan, but he's not a payday yet. Not yet. He could be if he gets this win. And I do think Chito Vera will get the win against Dominick Cruz. I think he's just a more explosive fighter at this point in Dominick's career. Dominick's just a smart, cagey, unorthodox, in-and-out type fighter. But I think Marlon Vera does the one thing that can negate all that. Calf kicks. Like, he'll throw the calf kicks. He'll throw the head kicks. He'll engage with you. He'll go for it all. He won't just sit there and wait for you to come to him. He'll jump in there. And I think Dominick Cruz confuses a lot of people. And if Vera just goes for it, I think Vera will win this fight. Over in the co-main event, Nate, I can't even believe it's co-main event, to be honest, with all the fights on this card. But Nate Landwehr versus David Onama. David Onama's looked fantastic lately. I don't know much about Landwehr. Who you got in this fight?
They're both coming off wins, but I'm gonna go. I'm going with Nate though. I'm gonna go with Nate to get the job done. I think he has the wrestling if needed to to take the fight to the ground and do some ground and pound.
Well, I mean, Onama's no like slouch in ground, like in grappling. He has a couple submission wins as well, 4 submission wins actually. The only fight he's lost is against another Cage Warriors guy, Mason Jones, coming over. And like I said, I don't know much about Landwehr. I know he got that win. He got the Anaconda choke over Ludwig Klein last time out. Lost to Juliana Rosa. He's been like 2-2 in the UFC, up and down. Herbert Burns he lost to. So I know if somebody tries to grapple with him, they might actually have some success. I'm going to take a chance on David Onama, but I'm not sure on this fight. I just know David Onama looked really good with finishes in both of his last fights. So I'm going to go ahead and take David Onama in that fight. Out of all the fights left on that card, what are you taking a look at that draws your interest?
I got to pick my girl Angela Hill. Going with
Are you sure?
Yep.
We know our history when we pick Angela Hill fights on this show.
Hey, I mean, this fight has already been moved, so it's been moved to this card. So I'm gonna go with Angela Hill.
All right, what do you think Angela has the advantage in this? Because Godinez is no joke.
I think it's the same thing how it is for every Angela Hill fight. You keep the fight standing up, it's gonna be Angela Hill's fight to win. But if it goes to the ground, that's when she can get into a little bit of trouble.
I think it's interesting. I actually think this might be because Angela's lost 3 fights in a row. Like this might be the 4th loss in a row, which would be interesting to see if the UFC would cut somebody like Angela Hill, who has brought so much excitement to that division. But Godinez, the only fight she lost recently is when she took one on like short notice, like a week later. Like other than that, she's been rolling. So that's interesting. And I know you people at home think I'm gonna pick the Cynthia Cavilla Nina Nunez fight again, but I'm not, because I'm not sure it's gonna happen. But also because my girl Yasmin Uruguay is on there, and if you follow her, she fights out of Brandon Moreno's gym down in Tijuana, undefeated, 8-0. She's run through Combate. And you know how we always talk about when somebody has a kid at home, they tend to fight a little bit harder, and they fight with like more like something to prove and something to like work, like fight for. But she's a single mom. Like she has literally been putting in the work. We've covered her on Crossing Borders. I'm a big fan of Yasmin Uruguay. And even though I know Yasmin Lucindo is no joke, look, I think Uruguay is going to be a contender in the strawweight division very, very soon. She's going to be fighting for a title very soon. She's won everywhere she's been. And I think Carla better be watching her back, because this girl is coming. She can strike, she can submit, she can do everything. So watch out for Yasmin Uruguay. She's going to be a contender very soon. She didn't even have to go to Dana White's Contender Series, which Brandon, a lot of the Latin American fighters have to go through that route. We just saw it yesterday with Luke's Fight League's featherweight champion Eric Silva getting the win, big ground and pound win, and getting that contract. But they usually have to earn it. This girl's so good, Dana just signed her. So that's something to be said. Also on the fight card before we get out of here, Devin Clark versus I always butcher this guy's name, but Amzad Murzakanov. We got Priscilla Kochera versus Ariana Lipsky. That fight got pushed back a week. Let's see if it happens this time.
Yep.
Bruno Silva versus Gerald Merchat. Martin Boudet versus Lucas Bresky. We got Gabriel Benitez versus Charles Otonaveros. Ode Osborne versus Tyson Nam. Yusuf Zalal versus Damone Blackshear. And then another fight that got pushed back, Jason Witt versus Josh Keelan. This whole card, like half this card is fights that got pushed back over the last couple of weeks for one reason or another. So I'll be interested to see if all these fights take place. Brandon, any other highlights on this card before we get out of here?
No, definitely looking forward to that Lipsky fight. Always like watching the Queen of Violence out here. So, hopefully that fight will happen.
I'm a big fan of hers. I just never know which version of her is going to show up.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about that last week. We just don't know. Check out UFC this weekend in San Diego. Finally out of Vegas for once. I think they're out to start. Aren't they supposed to go back to Abu Dhabi soon too?
Yeah, October 22nd.
Yeah, so they're starting to travel little by little, trying to get out of the apex. Folks, make sure you leave a comment. Let us know what we do great, what we don't do so great. I know Brandon. I know he's not that good. Me, I'm great, right? Anyway, I love to make Brandon laugh. Check out the show every week. Make sure you like, subscribe. Check out fightersfirst.shop. Get the Mechanic Collection. Dope shirt. Super comfortable. Art of MMA shirt. Super comfortable. Check it all out. all ring spun cotton, so super comfortable, great to wear, lasts for a long time. Let our apparel be a part of your story. Any final thoughts this week, Brandon, before we get out of here?
I just want to say shout out to Uriah Hall on his retirement in MMA.
I don't know if I necessarily believe it. I know he announced it, but I think if somebody came knocking at the door, like maybe a Chris Weidman matchup again or something, I think we could see him back. But
maybe
if it is, he's had a pretty good career. Maybe
he'll be the one fighting Jake Paul next in boxing.
Could be a way for him to get out of his contract faster than Nate. But I think Jake Paul's supposed to fight KSI, isn't he?
I don't know. I didn't hear anything on the Jake Paul deal.
I know he's running around shouting out his new app, Better, that's getting ready to come out, like doing microtransactions, micro betting. All right, folks. That said, this is Art of MMA. Make sure you check out Fighters First. We will see you next week. Enjoy all the fights. For the mechanic, Brandon Catino, I'm Mike Ginn. We're out.